Good evening, everyone. I'm Rebecca Vidler and I'm the Mannkal Scholarship Coordinator, and I just want to thank all our return students. It's just fantastic hearing and sharing all your experiences. For me personally, it's also always a relief to get you home safe and happy, and I want each of you to know that everyone at Mannkal is very proud of all of you. The feedback from all the national and international institutions has been absolutely tremendous, and I'd like to read you out an email I received today. This is from Dr. Detmar Döring, where Angeline interned. Please send, Dr. Detmar is head of the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Liberty based in Berlin. Please send Angeline our very best regards. It was such a pleasure to have her here with us. Many thanks for sending her. She was extraordinarily talented and did fit into our team most perfectly. All of us thought that she was really missing when she left us. If all Mannkal scholars are like her, they will be heartily welcome. And that's an example of the sort of feedback we're getting. So well done, all of you. You were all selected as Mannkal scholars because we saw in each of you potential leaders for the future. And you are each now, as Mannkal scholars, members for life of the prestigious Mannkal alumni. The contacts that you all made during your internships amongst yourselves and with current and future Mannkal scholars is going to be invaluable to all of you going into the future. And I suppose what I would really like to stress is use your Mannkal experience and your Mannkal understanding to further your careers, and most importantly, use it to build a better Australia for everybody. And I think the best way that you can repay this opportunity that Ron and Mannkal have given you is to become a contributor to the Mannkal alumni. And so all I'd like to say to you and encourage you is keep on with the opportunities and pass the baton on to those students that are coming after you. And now I'd like to welcome another one of our Mannkal Return Scholars, Connor Ransom.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to Mannkal for affording me the opportunity to speak here tonight at the Well Club about my internships in both Hong Kong and Nepal. And I'd just like to start by saying to Paul, unfortunately to all of you, I'm not the person with the interesting story about the Legislative Council, so sorry about that. To be honest, I applied for this scholarship with very little expectation of getting selected, but here we are. And it was great because I always held a natural interest in economics and how certain philosophies influence government policies. But I was certainly eager to learn more about how they actually intertwined from a more libertarian perspective. So upon arrival in Hong Kong, I'll avoid cliches, but Hong Kong really is the pinnacle of economic efficiency, and I'm sure you've heard that before. That was evident from the moment I landed. Flights land every 30 seconds. Trains leave faster than you can blink. Such is Hong Kong's obsession with technology, and this is not really a good thing, and I find this kind of amusing, but there are signs everywhere saying look up from your phone at the train stops, because everyone's walking around like this, and you bump into them and they bump into you, and it's not really seeming to be an issue. It's possibly a negative social effect, but it highlighted to me quite quickly how technology has been embraced by Asia and how Hong Kong was really a shining light in this area. On the topic of work, the Lion Rock Institute was welcoming, easygoing and friendly from the moment I arrived. They're a very small think tank, set on the 15th storey in Shan Wan, which is near central Hong Kong, overlooking the harbour. The office was tiny, which of course is typical of Hong Kong. Lion Rock only actually has 2 full-time employees. So there's Peter Wong, the research director, and Wilson Lee, who was in admin, while Chairman Bill Stacey had his own equity trading business off to the side, and we commented it looked like he was flying a spaceship because he had so many computers. But that really left me with Peter, the research director, for most of the time one-on-one, which was a really, really great experience, and I got a lot of one-on-one time with a guy who is quite an influential person in Hong Kong. And he drilled into me pretty early that their primary function was to see social problems and then solve them. And he sort of looked at me, and that was as simple as it was. And I thought that was a bit simplistic at the time, but it turned out to be the cornerstone of their success, as I learned. I perceived Peter's best ability, which he translated to me, to be able to link real topical issues in the news to libertarian concepts through discussion, and from there we would work out a concrete stance. A typical day would involve walking in, discussing the news of the day, throwing ideas around the room, and then researching and writing on a given topic. The main thing was to show through the media and advocacy and through the Legislative Council how the libertarian way actually improved people's lives, and that was Lion Rock's main catch cry. And that's probably the main thing I took out of the internship. For instance, we worked on ideas that were published in the South China Morning Post about how relaxing requirements for foreign trained doctors to work in Hong Kong would fix the doctor shortage, which would subsequently help people's lives. We wrote articles in the same paper on why the government should stop increasing the minimum wage, since youth unemployment actually kept rising. And you get the idea. I was also lucky enough halfway through to get a phone call from Becky Vidler, which sent me to Nepal, which was a bit unexpected, but a pleasant part too. And I've never seen India or any of those countries before, so it was a bit of a wake-up call and a bit of an eye-opener. But this was for the Asia Liberty Forum, which was held there from January 8 to 10, and that attracted the best libertarian minds from around the world in a convergence of ideas, tributes and friendship. I was lucky enough to listen to the likes of libertarian legend Tom Palmer speak on the values of Austrian economics, and joined in on really interesting discussions on how libertarian can actually help very poverty-ridden areas in Asia. So the backdrop of very beautiful but poverty-ridden Kathmandu provided the perfect platform for this. And subsequently I then spent a week at the Samriddhi Foundation, which is another think tank in Nepal. And I was there responsible for drafting up key policy recommendations, such as providing education subsidies for parents in Nepal, providing more school choice, which is a really big thing in Nepal for getting education off the ground. And I reflect on this experience, and I left Nepal with a really satisfying realisation that, although it was ever so small, I had perhaps contributed to making a difference. So overall, this was a sensational opportunity, and I'd once again like to thank Ron Manners and the team at Mannkal for providing me with such a wonderful experience, and I'll definitely be giving anyone who wants to do this very positive reviews, so thanks very much.
Frederick Hayek once famously said, "The mind cannot foresee its own advance." This is a strong and powerful message, and it almost completely sums up my experience with Mannkal Economic Education Foundation's International Scholarship Program. In late 2014, I was awarded with a scholarship to attend an almost 3-month journey and internship with the New Zealand Initiative. The NZI is a think tank based in Wellington and was created on the amalgamation of the New Zealand Institute and the New Zealand Business Roundtable. The New Zealand Initiative welcomed me with open arms and made me feel like part of the family. It is a think tank that operates, but is not limited to, the research into foreign direct investment and affordable housing, with the primary vision of a better and more prosperous New Zealand. I arrived in Wellington thinking that being only a student, people, politicians, policymakers alike would not listen to me. And this is where Hayek's words come to life. People did listen, politicians heard, and policymakers were interested in what I was researching. On arrival, I immediately launched into a project set before me by both Executive Director Dr. Oliver Hartwich and Head of Research Dr. Eric Crampton. I was to review the legislation and regulations surrounding New Zealand's charitable sector. We wished to know whether New Zealand's regime was fit for purpose or whether charitable organisations faced too great a compliance burden. There is a fine line to be struck between red tape discouraging philanthropy and effective regulations to maintain public trust and confidence in the sector. The New Zealand Initiative will publish my report entitled The Gift of Giving in the near future. The crux of the report handled where operational efficiencies could be made when regulating the charitable sector. I made comparisons with the Charity Commission for England and Wales and Australia's soon-to-be disbanded Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission. The major policy questions that I posed were whether the Inland Revenue Department, the tax authority in New Zealand, can effectively instill the confidence and trust without another government department registering charities, and whether many initiatives run by the current regime can be managed internally between those people running those charities. This internship was more than I could have ever wished for. From the bottom of my heart, I would like to thank Mannkal Economic Education Foundation, and in particular, Ron Manners. For without his generosity, this opportunity would not have come to fruition. Also, my thanks go to Paul McCarthy, Rebecca Vidler, and Genevieve Mitchell. I'd like to leave on one more note. I noticed that my journey to New Zealand was perfectly described by Air New Zealand's famous safety video. May the path be guided by the light of the stars, and may the future bestow upon you all the happiness and adventure our New Zealand has to offer. And those stars for me were Mannkal and Ron. Thank you very much.